think I've got it figured out.
Ah, there we go, my man.
Awesome. Hey, let me grab some headphones. Hey, I got some right here. So I've never done this Skype thing before, so it's going to be interesting to see how it goes.
That's all right, man. You know what we'll probably end up doing is not probably using video with it, but just using audio. I think
Oh, okay.
I think we'll be better off that way. That way they don't have
Cool.
to. They're not going to tune in to see this mug. I promise.
No, they don't want to see me for a fact. That's a hardcore fact right there, bro.
Indeed, indeed.
So how do things sound on your end? I got this crazy microphone here.
Looks like you got is it the Blue Yeti
Yeah, well, the blue snowball.
Snowball? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, sounds good, man.
they're at. All right. Well, hey, as long as it sounds good, that's what we want.
That's it, man. That's all it takes.
Groovy.
So, I know you said you'd been kind of looking to do like a podcast for a little while, but were you looking to do one more for your office or more for new guys getting started up, or what was your thoughts?
I don't really know. It's something I've kicked around. Just have thought about doing a podcast based on a lot of the interests that I have, depending on what those interests are. As it relates to chiropractic, I've thought about doing it for the membership group. Whenever Tim passed, that sort of rekindled that interest. I was thinking about doing it back in 2017 and went through all of 2018 without doing anything with it, and finally decided that it would probably be a good idea to go ahead and do it. It would be helpful for a lot of the new people coming in to talk to some of the old guard, some of the people that have been doing it longer than I have and they've been successful with it and more successful than I've been. So I figured it'd be something good for people to do, kind of along the same lines that you've been thinking about doing. So,
Yeah, for sure, man. You know, one thing I have noticed is, and I had this kind of crazy conversation with this dude at church this morning, and he was basically saying how a leader, when when Jesus was basically he sent everybody out and he equipped them to be good leaders, and he was waiting for them to come back, and he said I can only imagine them Jesus lounging in a chair in a garden somewhere and saying, hey, how did it go? And all these guys could come back and tell amazing stories. And, one
yeah,
thing I see is that, in a group of that size, when someone throws something out, there's like all this confliction that happens. And, some guys are obviously have I don't want to say a right to talk, but they've a lot busier than other people. And some people are just full of opinions. And
well, and some guys have more stroke. They've been at it longer. Their
right,
their opinion and their thoughts and their input's going to carry more weight than someone who's maybe only been at it for 6 months to a year, and they haven't made the same gains or had the same experience or same life lessons that have come
oh
from
man,
perhaps putting things out there and failing, because we learn way more from our failures than we do from our successes.
we've probably had
But
both of those. Both of us have had plenty of those, I'm sure, along the way.
oh, brother, that's the truth. But yeah, it's funny because people chime in, and I think things are going to get a little more streamlined. I've got some ideas, and we have some new admins in the group. I think things are going to become better moving forward.
Yeah.
We're not going to see so much of some of that old school chicanery that used to rear its head. Maybe chicanery is the wrong word, but a lot of the judgmental type stuff,
Sure.
because we're all on, and that's one of the things I realize is we're all on different stages in our journey. As long as we're on the same path, that's all that matters. But
Right.
some of us are going to be further along that path than others, and
Sure.
our goal needs to be to help one another along that path as effectively as we possibly can.
Right.
And there's a time and a place for a gentle nudge here and there, and then there's a time to come down a little harder, I guess. But
Right.
if you're having to come down hard all the time, then that person's probably not on the same path you are. And at that point, it's probably better just to sever ties, move on, say, you know what, our group probably isn't the best for you. You're trying to accomplish something different than what our mission is here.
Mm-hmm.
So see you later. Have a great life. We don't think any less of you. Even
Mm-hmm.
if we do, we might say we don't think any less of you.
Right. Sure.
And we love you. And if you decide you want to come back and this is something that you want to do, we're here.
Right.
If not, that's cool too. But you can't do what you're doing, what we call what we're doing, because they're mutually exclusive.
Right.
There ain't nothing wrong with that. But
Exactly. Yeah, I see. I think there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, as they say, and that's not necessarily is someone doing anything wrong if they're not doing it your way, but it seems like
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of that internal shooting that happens, and it's silly, to be honest. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to be successful in this field, but I think and there's kind of a shooting angle, if you will. I mean, obviously, as long as you're hitting the target, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing is, and we're all going to think a little bit different and kind of do things a little bit style different, whatever it is. But, I think there's also some, things where, I had a guy reach out to me a couple weeks ago and he was basically doing some, some ART stuff, and, I don't care, do whatever you want to do in your office. But I was trying to explain to him that in 5 years from now or 10 years from now, you can't spend half an hour with each patient and expect to have a high volume practice. That's just not going to work out. You
Well,
you
you ain't
can't.
gonna have time.
No, you can't.
It's an impossibility. I mean, the issue with a membership practice is it dovetails in with high volume beautifully. You almost have to have that increase of volume if you're going to make any money. Now, there's ways that you can set it up to where your volume might not get as high, but whenever you don't have your income artificially inflated by the insurance reimbursement, and I mean, you're going to have to see more people to make the same amount or more money.
Right.
It's a fact of business.
Sure.
And if you're seeing 120 people a day, you're not going to be spending a half hour with them, just like you're saying. It is impossible. But I mean, that's one of the things I ran into whenever I threw out all my mixer stuff. Some of the things that I kept were some myofascial release tools, and I would still do Graston every now and again. I had some folks that expected it, and I was conflicted with that. I felt like I was betraying the principle. I mean, I felt like I was Judas kissing Christ on the cheek, being surrounded by these Roman soldiers, and everyone's
Right.
coming down on me. I was having trouble sleeping at night. I'm like, oh my God, I'm betraying the principle. I'm getting these spoons and rubbing these people's feet with it, and I'm doing all this. Oh my God, it's awful. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Free the subluxation. Subluxation is the main thing, but it's got to the point I literally cannot do it anymore. I don't have time.
Right. Yeah. No
And
way.
I could schedule someone to do it, but no.
Right.
If I'm scheduling someone
There's
to
other
do
people
that,
down
I'm
the
taking-
road
yeah,
that are happy
I'm
to
gonna
do
refer
it.
someone out.
Sure.
Yeah, let them.
Massage
do that.
therapists down the road, they do it. They're good. They got all afternoon. Let them have it for sure. I'm in the same boat, man. I don't have time for stuff like that, but not that it's not good or it doesn't work or there's not benefit to it. It's just it's not what you really want to have time for at the end of the day.
Well, and if you have time for that and you start to do it, even once you make the transition to membership, or maybe you're fresh out of school and you're wanting to do membership, and you're wanting to do all cash, so you decide to go with membership or the box, you'll have time. I mean, yeah, you might not grow your practice super, super fast. Some people do, some people don't. The cool thing is that you grow it, and it's like Dwayne said on a thread the other day, you grow it and it stays there. You build it once.
Right.
And your attrition is going to be way lower than it will be in another traditional practice where you're trying to refill that leaky bucket over and over again.
Oh, completely. I couldn't imagine doing that every month. That'd be an absolute nightmare. Trying to keep things and live an abundant lifestyle on top of that. There's no way that could
Well,
happen.
And that's what's so beautiful. I mean, one of the things you always hear about from different gurus and different groups and different practice management companies is how important new patients are. New patients are the lifeblood of your practice. You have
Yeah.
to get new patients. And the great thing about our model is that once you get to that point where you have built your practice, if I get 0 new patients for the month of February,
It's fine.
I'm not hurting.
Right. It's
Cool,
fine.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We always like
new
new. Yeah, we always like new ones, sure. Like everybody else, but that's not necessary anymore.
Yeah, I'm
You're
not
not
gonna
you're not
be-
freaked out.
No, not at all.
Right.
But if at the beginning you have that time and you start to, yeah, I'll do some myofascial release on this cat. Yeah, I'll do some trigger point work. I'll do some physical stuff. I'm not going to hook them up to E-stim or this other stuff. Well, then they expect it.
Yeah.
And then as you get busier and busier and busier, that can create conflict with where you end up, and it can create problems down the road. So it's better to avoid it if you can. I mean,
One of
the easiest
my
way to avoid it is not do it in the first place.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite sayings is what once was a luxury is now a necessity. I almost said
Yeah.
what was a necessity is now whatever it is. I can't even say it now.
Yeah.
But anyway, at the end of the day, now you have to do it, and that's the thing is once you get started with something like that, you can't get rid of it. A guy down the road from me, he practices, very like in this kind of style, but, he has like this like drill thing that he would put on people and he would hit their shoulders with it. That's cool, whatever. But one day he says, I said, hey, what'd you do with the drill thing? And he said, oh, it broke. Well, that's what I'm telling everybody anyway, because I'm tired of dealing with it. Like, so he's like, people ask about it all the time. And he's like, no way, man, I'm done. I threw it away. Or I took it home or whatever. But he's like, I can't tell people the truth about it because everybody wants it, and that's, we can't have that anymore. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. But okay, so it sounds like we're kind of on the same page with this and kind of wanting to help, kind of new people get started. And, that was, I think it'd be fun to kind of do this. We got plenty of topics to talk about, for sure. And I think maybe it would even limit some of those, kind of questions that people, I don't spend time there anymore, but
Yeah.
I just don't have time to do it, to be honest. I think it was fun to kind of help folks out, but the practice is so busy now that, man, some of these guys that come along and say, oh, I'm seeing whatever, 500 a week or something. And I'm sure they post all the time too. I'm like, I don't know how you even have time to do that. Cause there's no way.
I used to live on Facebook. I used to be on it all the time. One of the things I said I was doing for 2019 was I was getting rid of Facebook off my phone. I'm not looking at it on my phone at all.
Yeah.
Because, I've got a phone that the battery with standard use will last a day and a half. And I was burning through my battery in 8 hours.
Right.
Just dicking around on Facebook, just doing all this nonsense.
Oh, yeah. Constant.
And it steals your attention from what matters. It's a thief of joy.
Indeed.
It got to be ridiculous. So I stepped away from it, and I broke that rule when I heard that Tim died.
Right.
So when I heard that Tim died, I went ahead and I picked it back up so I could keep abreast of what was going on. And with him passing, I'll be on there on my iPad or on my computer. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be constantly babysitting it, anymore.
Right.
But just to kind of help with the group. But getting busier at the office, I couldn't post in there like I used to. I couldn't get involved with those conversations and threads unless it's my day off.
Right.
I can't remember what it was.
And that day's not for this.
Year.
And that day's to play with the kids and do other fun stuff, man. It's not, you don't want to spend your time doing that anymore.
Exactly. And
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. It just
no, you're good. You're good.
Thought flash.
Some cat he got all bent out of shape about something on the page or something, and he made some comment. It might have even been on the DE page. I don't know. It might have even been our group, but he was like, "Don't any of you people ever work?" I'm like, "Well, it's my day off." So I've got nothing but time. I can just be on here and argue with you all day if you want. But who wants to do that?
Right.
So
exactly.
What I'm thinking is I think your idea of recording some of these and getting them kind of queued up and having them, having a backlog of them so that we can kind of trickle them out. I think that's a really good idea. Damien, before Tim had died, had mentioned doing something like this too.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking we might do is go through those topics, look at those topics, maybe add some to that. That looks like a really, really complete list. But you and I could wrap on some of them, and we could bring another person in to just have a conversation about it too. Like we could get Hoskins in on part of it on marketing. We could get, Damien in on, some of the financial parts of it.
Sure.
Because there's some things on there I'm like, oh yeah, we could do that conversation. Oh yeah, we could do that. And then there's others I'm like, I don't know what the hell we'd talk about on that. I don't know what I would have to. I don't know what I could contribute to that. So, paying off your student loans, I'm like.
Yeah, well, one thing I see is that, and I hear this a lot, is guys talk about this. Basically, it comes down to chiropractors. A lot of times, they're like making it, but they're not. They're not thriving though. They're not really. They're able to pay the bills, but they're not really. If they really got into a pinch, they'd be hurting, and that's that to me. That shouldn't be the case. I think there ought to be a better financial way for chiropractors to do well and keep their money, and not be in a pinch, not eating rice and beans. And I kind of have to back in the day, I don't want to say a name, but I would see some of the guys he would post, and it would just be, we're downsizing, we're getting rid of this and getting rid of that, and everything was so minimalist that, man, I'm like thinking, man, if my wife would kill me if we did that, like that's not a quality of life for you to be in anymore. Like I can see behind you in your picture here, and it looks like you got a projector hung from the ceiling.
Yeah.
We have one upstairs. I love it. It's family movie night. It's something we probably can't go without at this point, but there's no way we're going to, need $1,000 and sell the projector. Like we'd do something else first. Right. But there's things like this that are, a kind of a standard of living at this point, and a luxury, right, that we're not going to go without. But you shouldn't have to. Chiropractors, you should be so damn busy in your office. This should be the 15-minute podcast on your way to work on how to increase that level. I think that's kind of what we do anyway, is constantly increasing and constantly growing. And that's, not something that I see a lot of times. Is it's this lack and this fear and this kind of just mentality of getting by. And that should never be even an issue. 20 new patients a month should be like every month. Like that's not even no problem. So
many people, I think a lot of that lack mentality, there's so many gurus that feed that mentality. There's so many of them
they
that
love
thrive on that. So I think there's a lot of subconscious programming that goes on from the stage at different seminars, different groups. They're wanting to send those subliminal signals that without my help, you will fail.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't purchase my assistance, you're not going to get anywhere in practice. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people will begin to believe that. They'll begin to believe that chiropractic's not enough. They'll begin to believe that they're not enough, and that they need to do all these other things. They need to sell these supplements or these other therapies or other modalities in their office in order to be successful. And I think that if you believe in a product, if you believe in something, there's a service you really want to offer, okay, you can do that. It's not chiropractic, and you shouldn't call it chiropractic. But if you want to do that, I don't know. Keep the main thing. But if you want to do it, I'm not going to judge you. I don't care.
Right. And and I think that's important too, because, there's things that pop up in our lives. I mean, like my wife, for instance, we're going to do a blood panel on her here in the next, we did one last week because of different things. After our baby, she had a lot of, she eats certain foods and so it's basically an allergy to food test. And so, when BJ Palmer came, he was basically saying the 3 T's, right? The toxins, the thoughts, the traumas, that kind of stuff. And it's stuff that, I'm not saying we leave out in a membership practice. I don't think, every day when you're, like I talked about, like Renee gets up and hugs every patient that leaves his office. I thought, man, that's a positive thought every time, they see that. That's a positive hug that they didn't get, anywhere else today. And I think that's amazing. But that to me is chiropractic. That is not,
absolutely.
That is how it should be. It should be this positive energy that's always there. And removing toxins is, I mean, that's what BJ called it. And of course we can go into this guy said it, that guy said this, that, and all that stuff to me kind of wears me out, because frankly, at the end of the day, it's kind of what you want to call, like if you want to do that in your office and call it, that's chiropractic or not chiropractic. I mean, some of that, these divisions and these lines kind of get, kind of blurred at times. Yeah, they really are. And so, I'm not here to say somebody's more or less than I am.
Well, there's a difference between I'm going to do this because I believe in it.
Sure.
Versus I'm going to do this because if I don't, I'm going to be living under a bridge,
right.
Right. On the other side of town,
exactly.
Turning tricks to get a cheeseburger. There's
right.
a difference between that.
Sure.
And that lack mentality is so present. And honestly, I think that is a draw to the membership practice for a lot of people. It was for me initially, because you don't have to have that confront. You don't have to be able to confront your issues with money. You don't have to confront their issues with money. You can offer them care at a cheap price. But whenever you do it that way, it doesn't really fix anything.
Right.
It doesn't change things. You have to change that lack mentality. You have to begin to think abundantly. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't do that, you will not be successful.
I completely agreed.
There are people that are starving to death in the membership model and saying it can't ever work, but there are people starving to death in the insurance model, the traditional model too.
That was you and me both, I'm guessing, at one point.
Absolutely, man. And it's real nice. Like you said, I've got the projector hanging up here. We've got a nice house. We've got a pool. We've got, hopefully, if things go according to plan. Do we still have debt? Yeah, we've got debt. We're paying that debt off. But hopefully this year I'm going to be getting me a Tesla. Hopefully.
Yeah.
And if you have a lack mentality,
it's not going to happen.
No Tesla.
No,
Lord, no.
It's not how it works.
You got to think abundantly.
Yeah. And it has to be organized, right? I mean, obviously, we're actually in the process of building we're probably going to be building a new house very soon. I mean, we're in a very nice house and very blessed as it is, but we're kind of playing with numbers right now and saying, hey, how big can we go? It's kind of that game, and that's, kind of fun and scary. And but at the same time, if it can be done, then, let's do it, man. Let's do it. So that's kind of one of the things that, I just kind of wrote out, that was kind of one of my first questions for you just today, just to kind of say, let's see how this goes, was what do you hope to accomplish? And the second one is, if you could go back in time, if you just imagine going back at graduation and you could whisper in your own ear, what do you think you'd say?
Oh man, there's so many things I would say. One of them would be get to DE. One of them would be fire integrity management immediately.
Yeah.
And the last one would be don't even worry about insurance and go cash. But the problem with that is a lot of those struggles and that stress that push me and help lead me to where I am now.
Right.
So to change that would change the outcome.
Right.
But I think it'd probably be fire integrity management. You don't need their help. Their methods are outdated and there's a better way to do it.
Yeah.
And probably get to DE would be the next one, because that is what helped my mindset shift from lack to abundance in a hurry. So if I had to narrow it down, that's what it would be.
Yeah. No, I like that. It's tough too, because I went with David Singer in the beginning, and yeah,
I worked for a Singer chiropractor in high school, bro.
Man,
that was fun.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done that again. But like you said though, like I wish I would have known. One of probably the best things that ever happened to me, and this is kind of funny, but it's when Life had lost their accreditation. And I'm sure most people hear that and they're like, that was terrible for me, but it was one of the coolest things for me, because I had some really good friends that came out of Life and came to Logan where I was, and they introduced me to they're like, do you ever listen to Reggie Gold? I'm like, who's Reggie Gold? I have no idea who Reggie Gold was, and so I got to pick up these CDs. And as I was in my first couple years of my insurance practice, we were, it just wasn't going well, and so I'm listening to these CDs and while no one was there, and I was like, I'm doing it wrong. That's why, and this is, so I wish somebody would have dropped that in my pocket on graduation night and just said, hey, here's a CD I want you to listen to, and it would have been Bill Esteb, interviewing Reggie Gold about, what is chiropractic. And while I'm not a huge Bill Esteb fan, I liked what Reggie had to say. So I wish that would have been dropped in and been fed Sid for 4 years. And, at the time I probably thought he was, half crazy, and he kind of was to some level, but he also had a lot to give, which was, when you're in that mentality, you don't look at people that are kind of crazy and out there as dang, that dude's got it together, you just think he's crazy, but then later you go, oh, now I see where he's at. So
Sigafoos was crazy. The chiropractor I worked for in high school, he was a Sigafoos guy, and he had hired David Singer right after I started working for him. And I thought Sigafoos was nuts. Whenever I went to, because I went to Parker, and in Parker, man, I was all about the mixer Kool-Aid. I was a proud mixer. I was going to get out and do PT. I mean, shoot, I dropped almost $30,000 in PT equipment whenever I started practice.
Ouch.
So, yeah, that was a expensive lesson there. But, I was all about it. I didn't want anything to do with that straight chiropractic nonsense, all that hocus pocus, hokey stuff. But when you really look at it from a logical perspective, and you look at it from a position of reason, it makes the most sense. The 33 principles, they're all universal principles that apply in every aspect of life, philosophy, and science. And really, it's what the last two that are chiropractic, the rest of them are just universal. I mean, Principle 6, there is no process that does not require time. That applies to everything.
Sure.
So when you look at it from a logical perspective, it all does make sense. But yeah, it's funny how the very thing that I loathed and derided is what pulled me out of where I was and helped me become successful whenever I was ready to embrace it and
Right.
ready to promote it, because it is truth, and not in a religious sense, but in a scientific sense. It's like Sid dropping the keys. The keys fall every time. It's a science. With chiropractic, you do get better, period. Whether your symptoms improve or not, if your body gets better, well, yeah, your symptoms may improve. And that's what we see most of the time.
Sure.
Because if it didn't work that way, then we wouldn't have anybody to take care of.
Right.
Because they come to see you because they hurting, and they don't want to be hurting no more.
Right. That's exactly
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Nail it,
And
man.
for all the talk about, objective straight chiropractic, which I guess you could say I'm probably a 60/40 OSC TSC guy. People care about how they feel. You can tell them about the objective and how subluxation is bad just because it's bad all you want. They don't care. It's not real to them.
Right.
There ain't anything wrong with saying, yep, if we adjust you, your body's going to work better and your headache's probably going to get better. There ain't a thing in the world wrong with that. Well,
Yep.
what if their headache doesn't get better? What if it doesn't?
Yeah.
You
I think
know,
it's important they understand the objective straight side, but at the same time, I would say 85% that walk in get better anyway. And so
Yeah,
it's they need to understand that side of it and be taught that. But at the same time, even in those two camps, man, it's just funny that the infighting that happens. And that's the reason I stay off of all that crap. I just can't, I don't have time to deal with it. And I think it's just kind of humorous that they even waste so much time doing it. To me, I don't know.
Well, when you poke the bear, I get a kick out of it every time. I love it. So,
Well,
keep
good.
poking that bear, baby.
I
love it.
appreciate that. Okay. So man, let's, what I'll probably do is I'm going to stop the recording now. And then I'm going to, let's do this here.